persecuted unfortunate. You say you owe 6 months' board and you have no money to pay it with, and your landlord keeps harassing you about it, and you have made all the excuses and explanations possible, and now you are at a loss what to say it to him in future. Well, it is a delicate matter to offer advice in a case like this, but your distress impels me to make a suggestion, at least since I cannot venture to do more. When he next importunes you, how would it do to take him impressively by the hand and ask with simulated emotion, Monsieur Jean, votre chien, comment se porte-t-il? Doubtless that is very bad French, but you will find that it will answer just as well as the unadulterated article. Arthur Augustus. No, you are wrong. That is the proper way to throw a brickbat or a tomahawk, but it doesn't answer so well for a bouquet. You will hurt somebody if you keep it up. Turn your nosegay upside down, take it by the stems, and toss it with an upward sweep. Did you ever pitch quoits? That is the idea, the practice of recklessly heaving immense solid bouquets of the general size and weight of prize cabbages from the dizzy altitude of the galleries is dangerous and very reprehensible. Now, night before last at the Academy of Music, just after the Signorina Sconcia had finished that exquisite melody, The Last Rose of Summer, one of these floral pile-drivers came cleaving down through the atmosphere of applause, and if she hadn't deployed suddenly to the right, it would have driven her into the floor like a shingle nail. Of course that bouquet was well meant, but how would you have liked to have been the target? A sincere compliment is always grateful to a lady, so long as you don't try to knock her down with it. Young mother. And so you think a baby is a thing of beauty and a joy forever. Well, the idea is pleasing, but not original. Every cow thinks the same of its own calf. Perhaps the cow may not think it so elegantly, but she still thinks it nevertheless. I honor the cow for it. We all honor this touching maternal instinct whenever we find it, be it in the home of luxury or in the humble cowshed. But really, madam, when I come to examine the matter in all its bearings, I find that the correctness of your assertion does not manifest itself in all cases. A sore-faced baby with a neglected nose cannot be conscientiously regarded as a thing of beauty, and inasmuch as the babyhood spans but 3 short years, no baby is competent to be a joy forever. It pains me thus to demolish 2/3 of your pretty sentiment in a single sentence, but the position I hold in this chair requires that I shall not permit you to deceive and mislead the public with your plausible figures of speech. I know a female baby, aged 18 months, in this city, which cannot hold out as a joy 24 hours on a stretch, let alone forever, and that possesses some of the most remarkable eccentricities of character and appetite that have ever fallen under my notice. I will set down here a statement of this infant's operations, conceived, planned, and carried out by itself, and without suggestion or assistance from its mother or any one else, during a single day, and what I shall say can be substantiated by the sworn testimony of witnesses. It commenced by eating 12 large blue mass pills, box and all. Then it fell down a flight of stairs and arose with a bruised and purple knot on its forehead, after which it proceeded in quest of further refreshment and amusement. It found a glass trinket ornamented with a brasswork, mashed up and ate the glass, and then swallowed the brass. Then it drank about 20 drops of laudanum and more than a dozen tablespoonfuls of strong spirits of camphor. The reason why it took no more laudanum was because there was no more to take. And after this it lay down on its back and shoved 5 or 6 inches of the silver-headed whalebone cane down its throat. got it fast there, and then with all its mother could do to pull the cane out again without pulling out some of the child with it. Then, being hungry for glass again, it broke up several wine glasses and fell to eating and swallowing the fragments, not minding a cut or two. Then it ate a quantity of butter, pepper, salt, and California matches, actually taking a spoonful of butter and a spoonful of salt, a spoonful of pepper, and 3 or 4 lucifer matches at each mouthful. I will remark here that this thing of beauty likes painted German lucifers and eats all she can get of them, but she infinitely prefers California matches, which I regard as a compliment to our home manufacturers of more than ordinary value, coming as it does from one who is too young to flatter. Then she washed her head with soap and water, and afterwards ate what soap was left, and drank as much of the suds as she had room for, after which she sallied forth and took the cow familiarly by the tail, got kicked heels over head, and at odd times during the day when this joy forever happened to have nothing particular on hand, she put in the time of climbing up on places and falling down off them, uniformly damaging herself in the operation. As young as she is, she speaks many words tolerably distinctly, and being plain-spoken in other respects, blunt and to the point, she opens conversations with all strangers, male or female, with the same formula. "How do, Jim?" Not being familiar with the ways of children, it is possible that I have been magnifying into matter of surprising things which may not strike anyone who is familiar with infancy as being at all astonishing. However, I cannot believe that such is the case, and so I repeat that my report of this baby's performances is strictly true, and if anyone doubts it, I can produce the child. I will further engage that she will devour anything that is given her, reserving to myself only the right to exclude anvils, and fall down from any place to which she may be elevated, merely stipulating that her preference for alighting on her head shall be respected, and therefore that the elevation chosen shall be high enough to enable her to accomplish this to her satisfaction. But I find I have wandered away from my subject, so without further argument I will reiterate my conviction that not all babies are things of beauty and joy forever. Arithmeticus, Virginia, Nevada. I am an enthusiastic student of mathematics, and so it is vexatious to me to find my progress constantly impeded by these mysterious arithmetical technicalities. Now, do tell me what the difference is between geometry and conchology. Here you come again with your diabolical arithmetical conundrums, when I am suffering death with a cold in the head, and if you could have seen the expression of ineffable scorn that darkened my countenance a moment ago, and was instantly split from the center in every direction like a fractured-looking glass by my last sneeze, you would never have written that disgraceful question. Conchology is a science which has nothing to do with mathematics. It relates only to shells. And at the same time, however, a man who opens oysters for a hotel, or shells a fortified town, or sucks eggs, is not, strictly speaking, a conchologist. A fine stroke of sarcasm, that, but it will be lost on such an intellectual clam as you. Now compare conchology and geometry together, and you'll see what the difference is, and your question will be answered. But don't torture me with any more of your ghastly arithmetical horrors, for I do detest figures anyhow. Until you know I am rid of my cold. I feel the bitterest animosity towards you at the moment, and bothering me in this way, when I can do nothing but sneeze and swear and snort pocket handkerchiefs to atoms. If I had you in range of my nose now, I would blow your brains out. Socrates Murphy, you speak of having given offense to a gentleman at the opera by unconsciously humming an air which the tenor was singing at the time. Now part of that is a deliberate falsehood. You are not doing it unconsciously. No man does such a mean, vulgar, egotistical thing as that unconsciously. You were doing it to show off. You wanted the people around you to know that you had been to operas before, and to think that you were not an ignorant, self-conceited, supercilious ass as you looked. I could tell you Arizona opera sharps any time. You prowl around beer cellars and listen to some howling dervish of a Dutchman exterminating an Italian air, and then you come into the academy and prop yourself up against the wall with the stuffy aspect and imbecile leer of a clothing store dummy, and go to droning along about half an octave below the tenor and disgusting everybody in your neighborhood with your beery strains. If this roughshod eloquence of mine touches you on a raw spot occasionally, recollect that I'm talking for your good, Murphy, and that I am simplifying my language so as to bring it clearly within the margin of your comprehension. It might be gratifying to you to be addressed as if you were an Oxford graduate, but then you wouldn't understand it, you know. You have got another abominable habit, my sagebrush amateur. When one of these Italian footmen in British uniforms comes in and sings O Tol de Toro or Signora Loango Congo Venezuela Wackfall de Rall, which means O noble madam, here's one of them dukes from the palace out here come to borrow $1.50. You always stand with expanded eyes and mouth, and one pile driver uplifted, and your sprawling hands held apart in front of your face like a couple of canvas-covered hams. And when he gets almost through, how you do uncork your pent-up enthusiasm and applaud with hoof and palm. You have it pretty much to yourself, and then you look sheepish when you find everybody staring at you. But how very idiotic you do look when something really fine is sung, and you generally keep quiet then. Never mind, though, Murphy. Entire audiences do things at the opera that they have no business to do. For instance, they never let one of those $1,000 singers finish. They always break in with their ill-timed applause, just as he or she, as the case may be, is preparing to throw all his or her concentrated sweetness into the final strain, and so all that sweetness is lost. Write me again, Murphy. I shall be happy to hear from you.